What's going on, everybody? It's James from About Trout. I'm out here with Maktima today, and we're hunting for some heads. Going to do some dry fly fishing. Fly fishing is my entire personality. I'm just kidding. I'm a human being. I do more than that. But today we're going to do a lot of dry fly fishing. Ideally, waiting for the heads to show up. I think with the explosion of Euro nymphing, streamer fishing, a lot of subsurface techniques, kind of the heart and soul of fly fishing. Doesn't get talked about as much, and that's a shame. We love to guide dry flies here. We do it every opportunity that we can, and especially having a river like we have here with a large Baetis population, large midge population, you can catch a fish on a dry fly pretty much every single day of the year, conditions allowing. So kind of just going to break down, what we're looking for, angles of approach, kind of the different styles of casting we might use, upstream, downstream, and then when selecting flies for some of these kind of picky sippers in terms of size profile. Are they kind of half sunk in the film? Are they up top? Maybe reading some rise forms. So we'll dive all into that, but this is Let's Talk About Dry Fly Fishing. So let's talk about dry fly fishing.
What's going on, everybody? We're out here on this beautiful river, beautiful day, in the hopes of getting some fish on some dry flies. What we're seeing out here in the last couple days, there's definitely some blueing olives. There's always midges. But the trout have definitely been keen in on blueing olives. It is roughly about noon right now. We're seeing that midday hatch activity from the blueing olives. So we're just kind of, like a lot of folks in a lot of other rivers that target dry fly eaters, we're just kind of hanging out and reading the water, reading the fish. We've seen a couple fish rise. And really what I like to do when I'm out on the water is slow it down. If you're hunting for heads, you got to wait for those heads to appear. And be consistent when they appear. So we're set up in this spot. We have a good field of view downstream. We got some decent water up here, more riffly, which a lot of the risers have been in the flatter stuff. And those you can see a lot more consistently as well. As far as gear and setup, just running, standard. I got a 9'2". This is a Hardy rod, so it's got a weird length. 9'2" 4-weight, paired up with a weight forward 4-weight line. I have a 9-foot leader on here with an additional 2 feet of 5.5X tapered down to my dry fly. And then on the end of that, I got a size 20 low water Baetis. As we start to see more fish rise, more fish become active on the surface, we'll break down the approach and casting and, just kind of what all goes into getting a fish to eat a dry. So come along, join us. So when you're dry fly fishing and you got a fish spotted, he's up rising, he's pretty consistent. The next step is actually delivering your fly to that fish and presenting it in a manner that makes it look natural. Where the fly is floating with the current, it's actually floating downstream in a manner that appeals to the fish. So when you deliver your cast, you don't necessarily need to really hammer the cast out there, even in windy conditions. It's all about your delivery and how you get that rod to transfer the energy down the line, the leader. So if you notice, my casts are very short and abrupt, and what I'm doing is focusing on the rod tip to deliver the cast for me. So very short, not a whole lot of pause, and just a little bit more punch in the cast on the up and as well as the forward delivery. Now from there, I got my flies out on the water. When you deliver a cast, whether it be upstream, across, or even downstream, drag is your worst nightmare. If you have your flies skating across the current, it's usually because you have one section of your line or your leader that's on the water that's being influenced by an external current. So your dry fly sitting in one current lane, it's traveling at the speed that current is pushing the fly at, but then you have your leader sitting in other current lanes, which is either slower or faster, and thus it creates tension and pulls on your dry fly in a manner that's not natural. So mending is the way you get over that, or you allow your dry fly to drift naturally. So in this case, when I'm casting out, my fly is landing in actually a relatively slow portion of the river right there. And so there's a downstream belly that's developing, and it's forcing my fly to accelerate downstream. So what I need to do is lift my rod slightly, or actually fairly decently, and then using my wrist more than anything, which isolates the rod tip to flex and pop that line over. That'll be my mend. At shorter distances, that's all you need to do is just a quick little pop. At further distances, because you have more line, more mass, more water tension, you may need to lift the rod higher and have a little bit more arm included with the little wrist pop to carry that line over to make the mend happen. So as far as the mend goes, I just delivered the cast. So again, short, abrupt strokes on my cast. I'll stop high and let it drop, let it fall. You get that nice gentle lay down. See, there's a little bit of a belly developing in the leader. And so I raise the rod tip and just give it a little flick with my wrist. It's not always upstream. It's not always downstream. What I like to reference to help me determine which direction I need to mend is as the line is drifting, it creates a belly. That's where that acceleration or slowdown is happening. And so in that direction of the belly, mend in the opposite direction of that belly. And that's typically a great general way to figure out which direction you need to mend. Actually, I think there's a couple fish that are rising right here, fairly consistent. I'm trying to pinpoint at least like a last known location, but oh, there he is. So it's about 15, or not even that, 12 feet, 10 feet away from me. So what I'm going to do is actually get my line out before I make my cast. I see too many times where somebody lays a line on the water and then they'll rip it up, get more line out, make another cast. You're just creating a lot of unnecessary commotion on the water. And again, at the same time, what I want to do is find where that fish is probably the most consistent, or what feeding line he's sitting in. There is somewhat of a foam line that's happening right in front of me that fish has been moving in and out of. And obviously foam is home. It's concentrating these blueing olives into that stretch there. So you want to lead them a little bit. And when I mean a little bit, that can vary. So you don't want to lead too far ahead of them, because then that fish may not be in that line anymore when your flies come to them. So you kind of got to read how those fish are holding in the water column. But I would say, 2 feet max is a good rule of thumb, especially if you get a nice gentle lay down on your dry fly. It's floating consistently. You don't have to make a huge mend where your line skates out of the water. It reduces that, ooh, there was a rise right there. It reduces that opportunity for you to mess up in that short window of time frame, if you will. As well, it gives that fish a good opportunity to see your fly land ahead of it, so it's expecting that fly to come downstream, and then they can target it as it comes into their feeding line. That worked out well. So again, made the cast. I didn't lead him too far, about a foot ahead of it. This is shallower water, and he had a lot of naturals, so just dropping that fly right in his field of view got his attention. Came up, chowed it. I waited on the hook set slightly. You don't want to wait too long, or they spit it out. So hail to the queen.
So today there's midges and Baetis coming off. I'm noticing, both Norm and I have noticed the fish key in on these singles. So when I fish dry flies, I think about size, profile, color. So we have the size and then the profile. Now there's different types of rise forms. What we've noticed today are actual heads up and fish coming up to eat the adult form off the surface, and it's audible. You'll hear them, not always, but you'll see the fish's head come up. I've also seen backs and tails, which lets you know that the fish are eating just below the surface, and sometimes even just sipping those fish in the film. So by reading those rise forms, you can kind of tell what the fish are doing. I'm gonna fish a kind of a cripple style pattern. In my hand, I have things like parachute Adams, I have this cripple, and I have a mole fly, which will sit lower in the film. I'm gonna go with this cripple. It'll kind of sit half down. It'll break that surface tension, and see if I can coax some of these fish eating the emerging mayflies into maybe coming up and seducing them, if you will. All right, well, thank you everybody for checking out that video, and huge shout out to Norm for dropping some gems and getting out in the water. We do fish on our day off. We do have fun out here. Dry fly fishing is something we all hold near and dear to our hearts here at About Trout. As we get into our slow season, expect to see more content from us, myself, and the other guides here at About Trout. Just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, whatever you're celebrating. Happy New Year. We'll see you in 2025. And we want to continue to make content for you guys. If you have any questions about anything we can elaborate on, that's really what this channel is all about. It's about having fun and also just talking about trout. Go figure. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video.